président de la région MENA de INWES, donc International Network of Women Engineers and Scientists. Je voudrais en premier lieu vous remercier pour l'intérêt que vous portez à notre événement et remercier tous les éminents panélistes qui ont accepté d'animer ce webinaire. Ce webinaire donc, discutera des initiatives entreprises ces dernières années dans les différents pays de notre région MENA pour renforcer la contribution des femmes en STEM dans la recherche et l'innovation. Je voudrais également remercier les membres ATSI qui ont contribué à l'organisation de ce webinaire et celui d'avant, et à leur tête, Madame Najla Teti. Donc, ce webinaire fait partie d'un projet lancé par INWES en collaboration avec l'Université de Warwick et qui vise à réimaginer une nouvelle culture de recherche et d'innovation en STEM. Ce projet vous sera présenté par Dr. Jang Soon Kim, président de INWES. J'espère que ce webinaire offrira un espace de discussion riche et fructueux. Notre webinaire sera animé par Dr. Manar Abou Taïb. Donc, Dr. Manar Ali Taïb est directrice du département de sensibilisation à la recherche, bureau du vice-chancelier pour la recherche et des études supérieures de l'Université de Charlage des Émirats arabes unis. Madame Manar est également membre du corps professoral du College of Computing and Informatics. Dr. Manar travaille également sur certaines normes ISO et a participé au développement de la version arabe de la norme ISO 19761. Elle a publié plus de 70 conférences, revues, manuels et rapports à plus de 500 activités professionnelles et parrainé des activités de recherche et supervisé 7 thèses de maîtrise, 3 thèses de doctorat et 35 projets de synthèse. Elle a reçu plusieurs prix et reconnaissances pour ses travaux de recherche et pour ses travaux dans l'enseignement. Elle fait partie de plusieurs associations scientifiques. En particulier, elle est vice-présidente des chapitres de Arabique. Donc, malheureusement, aujourd'hui, je ne pourrai pas être avec vous. Je vais devoir vous laisser parce que je suis invitée à participer aux travaux de l'AGO du Conseil national tunisien des ingénieurs. Donc, je vous laisse en bonne compagnie et je vous souhaite un bon webinaire. Donc, je vous cède la parole, Madame Manar.
Thank you, Nadia, for the nice introduction and welcome everybody for the exciting event. For the next 2 hours, we will explore so many things together. This is a part of a big project that is led by University of Warwick. And this is to see what's going on in reimagining a STEM research culture in the MENA region. Please allow me to welcome Prof. Jang Soon Kim is the current president of INWES. She is the executive vice president of Doncaster University since 2019 and has various leadership positions in academia, government committees, and non-governmental organizations. She has PhD in the medical chemistry and published over 50 papers internationally peer-reviewed in prestigious journals. Her current work focuses on academic administration and policy research on women in STEM, including international collaborative survey among the members on gender barrier in STEM, led by her university. In April 2019, she was conferred the Order of Science and Technology by getting a good model and medal by the Korean government. You are our inspiration, Prof. Jang. The floor is yours to welcome our audience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manar, for your very kind introduction. I would like to share my slide first before I begin my presentation. Okay, sorry. Yes, just a minute. Okay. So good morning. I am Jang Soon Kim, as introduced. I'm the current president of INWES, and I'm very happy to be attending the second webinar of MENA today after a very successful first webinar on April 8th. On behalf of the Board of Directors of INWES, I would like to express my most sincere greetings to our valuable members of the MENA Regional Network once again. My sincere thanks to Ms. Nadia Susi, the chair of MENA, and of course the members of the MENA Regional Network. I also would like to thank Ms. Najla Tricky, board member of INWES and lead of the MENA Network in INWES. Najla has been valuable in bringing together today's webinar. Also, a big thank you to Ms. Sylvia Kigel and the INWES IT team for the technical support. Special thanks to our Vice President Conferences, Professor Georgia Kremida, for obtaining funding for a series of webinars, including today's dialogue from the University of Warwick. Thank you, Dr. Jenny Spina and Ms. Stephanie Khanna for managing the project. And of course, the most sincere and big thank you to our distinguished speakers and panel today. Dr. Manar Abu Talib, who will be moderating today's webinar, was also an inspiring speaker at our previous webinar in April. We're happy to have Mr. Kais Medri, Ms. Najla Al-Kebsi, Dr. Safa Nasiruddin, who was the moderator for the first webinar. She was also very inspiring. Ms. Amel Ali, Dr. Marian Amir Azer, good to see you again after an excellent and inspiring talk at the first webinar. And of course, we're very honored to have Dr. Olfa Kamun as our keynote speaker today. This webinar is one of the series of webinars that has begun in March and will continue until July this year as a collaborative effort between INWES and the University of Warwick. For MENA, this is the second webinar already. And in addition, we have had 6 webinars already by other regions, including the APNN, ARN, INWES Europe, and Latin America, under the project title, Reimagining a STEM Research Culture, Lessons Learned from 20 Years of Evolution for Inclusive Representation in Science and Engineering. There will be 2 more webinars, after which the final concluding webinar will be held on July 20th. And all the outcomes of the regional network webinars will be disseminated on a global scale, accompanied by the celebration of the 20th anniversary of INWES. So please mark your calendars for July 20th. To join us for celebrating the birthday of the 20th birthday of INWES. For those of you who could not attend the first webinar, let me just briefly explain to you about the project, which focuses on improving access to and participation of women and those belonging to the underrepresented group in STEM research. Also, the project focuses on contributing to a culture that supports the development of strong identities and academic mindsets to underrepresented groups in STEM research, and this is an important focus of the project. We hope to show how diversity and inclusion in STEM would benefit society as a whole. We hope to extrapolate, analyze, and discuss policies, initiatives, projects, and interventions delivered across the world in the last 20 years in STEM academia and industry. On April 8th, MENA held its first webinar in the form of a dialogue workshop to discuss the current status and barriers in STEM research in the MENA region. The keynote speaker, Ms. Kauthar Lihideheb, presented a very comprehensive statistics regarding women and girls in STEM in the MENA countries and emphasized that gender diversity in STEM fields is crucial and that more role models are needed. We were fortunate to have excellent panels and speakers from Egypt, Palestine, Lebanon, the United Arab Emirates, and Tunisia. Discussions on the need to solve the problems of stereotypes and the challenges women in STEM need to overcome have been laid out in the dialogue workshop. The dialogues were inspiring and very informative. Today in this knowledge sharing workshop, we hope to learn how policies for women in STEM research have evolved or is evolving in the Middle East and North African countries. Perhaps we can find some solutions to what we discussed at the dialogue workshop, especially by proposing a global collaborative effort. I hope today we can start the discussion on what we at INWES can do as a global network to overcome the barriers and build a gender inclusive environment terms of policy development. For those who are new to INWES, let me just very briefly give you an introduction of our network. We are a global network of organizations of women in STEM with organizational members, corporate members, university members, and individual members, all together comprising of 250 women, 250,000 women from over 40 countries worldwide, with a mission to build a better future worldwide through the full and effective participation of women and girls in all aspects of STEM. As earlier mentioned, we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year because INWES was established in 2002. It was in this year that INWES was approved by the delegate at ICWES 12 in Canada as a formal organization to oversee the ICWES conferences. Since then, INWES has expanded the global network, established regional networks, and have initiated various projects that would bring us closer to fulfilling our mission to building a better future worldwide by the full participation of women and girls in all aspects of science and engineering. ICWES is the flagship event of INWES, which was held in 1964 for the first time, and it is held every 3 to 4 years. Since then, the most recent ICWES was held in last year, 2021, hosted by the University of Warwick, and this was the first virtual ICWES due to COVID-19. The next ICWES will be held next year in New Zealand. These are the member countries that are represented in INWES, and we are hoping that we will have more countries from the Middle East and North Africa join INWES to join in our efforts. These are some of the conferences that were held. I have some photos that I showed you also in the other, in our first webinar on the regional network, or regional conference rather, that was held in 2018 in Tunisia, and it was an excellent event. ICWES 19 will be held next year in September, so please mark your calendars for this also very important event where we hope to see all of you and have more discussions about what we are going to be talking about today. These are some of the objectives of INWES, and one important objective is to promote exchange of information and best practices for outreach and professional development, as we are doing today. Some of the projects that we are doing, and we hope that many of you will be interested and will be joining in our endeavor. So these are for your information. And through our webinars, we are reminded that science and engineering together with gender equality are vital agendas for a sustainable world. Yet, we also realize that the progress is slow, and thus we must remind ourselves once again that only through the full participation of women and girls in science can we achieve a better future for all. Thank you all for joining INWES in building an inclusive culture in science and engineering. I hope you enjoy today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Prof. Jang Song Kim, you are our inspiration. This is absolutely a pleasure to see all of these achievements, and congratulations. We will celebrate with you on July 20th, and we hope to have ICWES the following year with us in UAE. We will be glad to host you and to host all these nice women who are doing the big difference. So going back to the agenda, we have Dr. Ulfa Kamoun, who will be delivering a keynote speech on the research, innovation, and gender gap, what challenges for the MENA region, which is very important to see and to explore and to discover what are these challenges to resolve them. Dr. Ulfa is Associate Professor in Economics, specializing in innovation and entrepreneurship, holder of a PhD in Economics from University of Nice, Sofia, and Antipolis in France. She is responsible of several projects, including INSET Business Incubator and a master's degree in digital economy and entrepreneurship. She's a member in La Rime. She wrote and managed several European projects and published several research works related to the theme of technological innovation in several scientific journals. She is coordinator of the research and innovation project of PAQDGSU at the University of Tunis. The floor is yours, Dr. Ulfa.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Je suis très honorée d'être avec vous aujourd'hui. Je remercie particulièrement l'Association des femmes ingénieures en Tunisie et spécialement Madame Najatiki pour l'organisation de ce webinaire. Je suis très heureuse de rejoindre donc ce réseau de femmes INWES et je suis très honorée donc de vous présenter aujourd'hui mon point de vue sur la question. Donc, je vais partager ma présentation. Voilà. Donc, je vais parler aujourd'hui de la recherche-innovation et de gender gap. Quels sont les défis donc, pour la région MENA? Alors, l'agenda que je vais suivre est le suivant. Donc, je vais d'abord essayer d'encadrer donc mon intervention dans un cadre conceptuel, comme le font la plupart des chercheurs. Et puis, donc, je vais essayer de présenter la recherche-innovation dans la région MENA à travers l'indice du Global Innovation Index 2021. Ensuite, donc, je vais essayer de montrer comment est-ce qu'il y a toujours un gender gap ou donc une disparité de genre dans la recherche-innovation dans la région, dans les différents pays de la région MENA, selon plusieurs indicateurs et variables. Et donc, pour cela, donc, il faudrait mettre en place, il y a eu déjà la mise en place des politiques dans les 20 dernières années. Donc, on va voir quelles sont les politiques qui ont été mises en place par les pays MENA pour améliorer la performance de ces pays en matière de recherche et innovation. Et par la suite, on va essayer de voir comment est-ce qu'on peut réduire donc le gender gap en essayant donc de mettre en place aussi des programmes et des politiques recherche-innovation destinés donc à la réduction de cet écart de genre en matière de STEM, mais aussi de STI, donc de sciences, technologies et innovation. Alors, le conceptuel framework dans lequel je me situe, c'est en fait, nous sommes aujourd'hui, tous les pays MENA donc en fait, essaient de se transformer en économie de connaissance. Et cette économie de la connaissance, elle est basée historiquement sur un double phénomène. D'abord, il y a eu l'accroissement des ressources consacrées à la production et la transmission de la connaissance, telles que l'éducation, la formation, des ressources humaines, la coordination économique, mais aussi essentiellement la transformation numérique. Et on a vu comment, durant la crise Covid-19, comment est-ce que donc, le digital a joué un rôle très important dans cette crise. Donc, d'où l'importance de l'innovation et donc l'augmentation des externalités de connaissances, chose qu'on va discuter donc par la suite. Donc, on se situe aussi dans le cadre d'une approche de systèmes nationaux d'innovation. Selon cette approche, donc on va avoir une approche plutôt de l'innovation qui est plutôt systémique, c'est-à-dire qu'on va essayer de se concentrer sur le rôle des politiques d'innovation, mais aussi de la recherche, dont le catching gap, c'est-à-dire comment est-ce qu'on peut réduire les écarts, que ce soit des pays MENA par rapport aux pays développés en matière de sciences et technologies, mais aussi on va voir comment on pourra aussi réduire l'écart aussi pour les femmes dans la région MENA. Donc, la conception d'innovation, on va la voir comme étant un processus qui en fait, essaie d'insérer les différentes institutions qui interviennent dans la politique innovation et recherche. Donc, le modèle sur lequel aussi on se base, c'est le modèle de la triple hélice de Escovis et Ledesdorf. En fait, ce modèle, il essaie de montrer que le rôle de l'État est aussi important pour, en fait, rapprocher l'université de l'industrie donc en matière de coordination, mais essentiellement pour améliorer la performance donc en matière de recherche et innovation, que ce soit donc dans le monde, mais puisqu'aujourd'hui donc on parle des pays MENA et de la problématique de genre dans les pays MENA, donc ce modèle aussi, je crois, il nous permet aussi de répondre à certains questionnements et de discuter pleinement des solutions qu'on pourra proposer pour améliorer donc le positionnement des femmes dans la région MENA en matière de STEM et en matière de STI. Donc, c'est pour cela que je vais par la suite essayer de proposer donc, des solutions en matière de politique industrielle, de politique entrepreneuriale, ce qu'on appelle les nouvelles politiques industrielles et d'innovation, qui se basent sur l'interaction de la sphère scientifique avec la sphère industrielle, donc pour améliorer la performance en matière d'innovation. Mais aussi, on pourra améliorer la performance en matière de recherche et innovation en se basant sur le paradigme de l'open innovation ou de l'innovation ouverte qui donc essaie d'encourager que ce soit les chercheurs ou bien les entreprises à s'ouvrir, à partager, à collaborer. Donc, je vais me baser donc, pour discuter du positionnement des pays MENA sur le Global Innovation Index. Et ces piliers qui sont, donc, on a deux types de piliers, en fait, le pilier Innovation Input SAP Index et le pilier Innovation Output SAP Index. Donc, les variables qui nous intéressent essentiellement sont, pour l'Innovation Input SAP Index, l'environnement institutionnel qui est mesuré par le Business Environment, exemple, donc j'ai pris des exemples de variables, hein, pas toutes. Donc, le ease of starting a business, le human capital and research, qui est le pourcentage de graduates in science and engineering, l'infrastructure qui est mesurée, par exemple, par l'accès donc aux technologies numériques ou aussi l'utilisation des technologies numériques et le market sophistication, on va en discuter par la suite. Alors, pour les variables de mesure de l'output d'innovation, l'Innovation Output Sub-Index, donc on a des variables de business sophistication qui essaient de mesurer l'apport des travailleurs en connaissances, comme par exemple l'indicateur utilisé, c'est Female Employment in Advanced Degrees, ou bien donc le Knowledge Linkage qui est là, donc comme je viens de le dire, c'est la Science Industry R&D Collaboration, c'est la collaboration en matière de recherche-développement entre la sphère scientifique et la sphère industrielle, et aussi le knowledge absorption, la capacité donc la capacité d'absorption en matière de connaissances qui peut être mesurée par les research talents businesses, c'est-à-dire combien est-ce qu'on a de talents ou de chercheurs qui travaillent dans les entreprises, et aussi là on va voir comment est-ce que les femmes se positionnent par rapport à cet indicateur. Donc, on a aussi un autre indicateur très important qui est le Knowledge and Technology Outputs qui mesure donc la création de la connaissance par des indicateurs comme les PCT, Patents by Origin, les publications scientifiques et techniques dans des revues classées, etc. Alors, en fait, si on regarde de plus près donc la région MENA, on remarque que selon le Global Innovation Index Ranking en 2021, donc les Émirats arabes unis sont bien classés. Elles sont classées de façon globale au rang 33 sur 132 pays. Hein. Alors, si on regarde de plus près donc les pays de la région, on remarque que la Tunisie est classée donc globalement 71e. Selon cet indicateur, alors qu'elle est 7e donc dans la région Nord-Afrique et Western Asia. Donc, nous avons aussi en MENA, Koweït, Morocco, 77e, la Jordanie est 81e et l'Égypte 92e. Donc, cet indicateur, ce classement, il montre aussi qu'en fait, il y a quand même un écart entre les pays de la région MENA en matière d'innovation et de recherche par rapport à des pays, aux pays occidentaux, aux pays de l'OCDE. Donc là, la répartition géographique montre en fait que au niveau donc, des leaders, le Global Innovation Leader ou les leaders au niveau de cet indicateur par région, pour le nord de l'Afrique, Western Asia, nous avons l'Émirat arabe unis et la Turquie, alors que les autres pays ne sont pas classés donc, selon les régions. Alors, si on regarde de plus près les 10 si on regarde de plus près les pays qui sont classés dans les top 10 par groupe de revenus, on remarque que pour la Tunisie, pour la Turquie, nous avons la Turquie, elle est classée 4e dans le groupe de revenus Upper Middle Income Economies. Et en fait, sinon, on a la Tunisie et le Maroc qui sont classés 7e et 8e respectivement dans le groupe de revenus Lower Middle Income Economies et qui regroupe 34 pays. Donc là, on a quand même très très peu de pays qui sont classés qui sont bien classés selon l'indicateur Global Innovation Index. Donc, en fait, j'ai essayé de prendre donc deux pays de la région MENA, essayer de comparer leur performance essentiellement en matière d'indicateurs du pilier Innovation Output. Donc, je rappelle que le Maroc est classé 77e par rapport à l'indice global en 2021 et l'Émirat arabe uni, elle est la mieux classée donc dans ce groupe de pays MENA. Donc, si on regarde de plus près, donc tout ce qui est marqué en foncé, bleu foncé, donc que ce soit les triangles, les losanges, ou les cercles, ça veut dire qu'on a une performance dans la variable. Donc, on remarque que pour les Émirats arabes unis, donc la variable femme employed in advanced degree, donc il y a quand même une faiblesse. Donc là, l'indicateur dans lequel l'Émirat arabe uni est la mieux classée, c'est en fait le financement, donc le financement de la recherche-développement. Donc pour le Maroc, elle a des faiblesses essentiellement en matière de l'emploi intensif en connaissance, c'est-à-dire les travailleurs qui stockent donc de la connaissance, et aussi en matière de la relation innovation linkages, c'est-à-dire de la coopération en matière de recherche-développement entre l'université et l'industrie. Et ça, on le remarque pour tous les pays de la région MENA, essentiellement les pays de l'Afrique du Nord, la Tunisie aussi, l'Algérie et la Mauritanie. Donc, l'autre indicateur que j'ai pris en considération pour comparer ces deux pays, c'est l'indicateur de Knowledge and Technology Output, ce qui essaie donc de montrer comment est-ce que des indicateurs comme les brevets et les publications scientifiques et techniques participent donc à la performance innovatrice des pays. Et donc, on remarque que pour l'Émirat arabe uni, il y a une faiblesse majeure dans ces indicateurs. Donc, le Maroc enregistre par contre une certaine performance. Donc, elle est plus ou moins bien classée pour le PCT, Patent by Origin, en parité de pouvoir d'achat. Donc, si on passe maintenant, on va essayer de voir comment est-ce qu'on va utiliser les mêmes indicateurs, mais pour voir la situation des femmes dans la région MENA par rapport donc au niveau de la recherche et innovation. Et donc, j'ai pris d'abord, donc là, c'est le Global Gender Index Ranking en 2021. Donc, on remarque que les pays les mieux classés, Israël, l'Émirat arabe uni, la Tunisie, l'Égypte, la Jordanie, le Liban, la Turquie, l'Algérie, le Bahreïn et le Qatar. Donc, elles sont situées dans les top 10 dans la région MENA. Alors, si on regarde maintenant de plus près, comment est-ce que les femmes, quelle est la situation des femmes donc, par rapport à tous ces indicateurs recherche et innovation? Donc, la proportion des femmes en STEM, donc diplômées en STEM, donc on remarque que en sciences, technologies, engineering et mathématiques, on remarque que la Tunisie, donc, elle est bien classée. Donc, selon la Banque mondiale Blocks, la publication de la Banque mondiale Blocks, donc en fait, elle est suivie par l'Algérie, Oman, le Maroc, etc. Donc, mais là, donc le meilleur classement, c'est pour la Tunisie. On va voir que ceci se répercute par la suite sur les publications des articles. Donc, si on regarde maintenant donc, la répartition géographique dans la région MENA de la proportion des femmes donc dans le nombre total des chercheurs. Donc, dans le monde, on a 33,3% de femmes chercheurs. Donc, on remarque que la Tunisie est la mieux classée, puisque donc, selon la couleur marron foncé, donc elle a 55% des chercheurs sont femmes, plus que 55% des chercheurs sans fin. Donc, par la suite, elle est suivie par l'Algérie qui possède, donc qui a un score entre 45,1 et 55% de femmes chercheurs. Donc, tous les autres pays, les pays du Golfe, par exemple, on a pour l'Émirat arabe uni, c'est entre 25 et 35% de femmes chercheurs. Alors, le score le plus faible, il est réalisé par la Mauritanie, qui ne possède que 15 à 25% de femmes chercheurs. Alors, de plus près, on va regarder la spécialisation, puisque ce qui nous intéresse, c'est de montrer comment est-ce que les femmes se situent en matière de recherche dans les filières scientifiques, sciences, technologies et ingénierie. Et donc, on remarque qu'en fait, la proportion des femmes par rapport donc, au total des chercheurs par secteur, par filière de recherche, si vous voulez. Donc là, tout ce qui est marron et jaune, c'est les proportions donc, les plus élevées, entre 45 et plus de 55%. Donc, c'est le Koweït, en sciences naturelles, par exemple, c'est le Koweït qui enregistre le taux le plus élevé, suivi par l'Algérie, 71,7%. L'Égypte, elle fait donc un score moins élevé en sciences naturelles, en ingénierie et technologie, c'est uniquement 28,9%. Alors, les scores les plus faibles sont réalisés par la Mauritanie et la Jordanie, mais j'ai mis ici le Japon pour montrer que la tendance, elle est générale, elle est dans le monde. Donc, tout à l'heure, la moyenne mondiale du nombre des chercheurs par rapport au total des chercheurs dans le monde ne dépasse pas les 33%. Donc, en fait, l'égalité des genres n'est pas uniquement un problème dans les pays MENA, mais aussi, donc, c'est un problème mondial. Et d'ailleurs, je crois le réseau INWES montre, donc là, on a une problématique qu'il faudrait traiter, à laquelle il faudrait aussi proposer des réponses. Donc, si on analyse l'analyse de près de 3 millions d'articles scientifiques publiés dans le domaine de l'informatique, par exemple, entre 1970 et 2018, a permis d'estimer que la parité ne serait pas atteinte dans cette discipline avant 2100. Et ce, même si les femmes rédigeaient 90% des articles de toutes les revues concernées durant les prochaines années. Donc, il y a des efforts à faire dans ce sens-là. À titre de comparaison, des auteurs ont noté que la parité pourrait être atteinte d'ici 30 ans en ce qui concerne les revues biomédicales, parce que donc, les femmes publient plus dans cette filière scientifique. Et le nombre d'articles dans le domaine de l'informatique ou écrits par des hommes et des femmes est d'ailleurs en baisse depuis 1970. Donc, si hommes et femmes rédigent davantage d'articles en collaboration avec une personne de leur sexe, cette tendance décline chez les femmes alors qu'elle augmente chez les hommes. Alors maintenant, on passe à un autre indicateur qui est l'indicateur de l'output d'innovation, qui est en fait l'appropriation de l'innovation en matière donc, de dépôt de brevets. Donc on remarque que la proportion des demandes de brevets citant au moins une inventrice femmes ne représente que, en fait, que 19%. Donc, c'est le graphique en jaune. Alors, ce taux s'améliore, il passe à 35% pour des femmes donc, la proportion de demandes citant au moins une inventrice. D'accord. Alors donc là, il y a une amélioration. Il y a une amélioration durant la dernière décennie. Donc selon le rapport de l'UNESCO sur la science, mais il y a encore des efforts à faire donc pour arriver à la parité genre en matière donc de dépôt de brevets et d'invention. Donc alors quelles sont les raisons? Donc, parmi les raisons, on a détecté donc, dans la littérature, il y a une ségrégation verticale dans le monde universitaire. En fait, la représentation des femmes diminue à mesure qu'augmente le niveau hiérarchique. Donc, cette ségrégation verticalement observée, donc quasiment tous les pays du monde, ce n'est pas uniquement l'objet de la région MENA, et ne se limite pas aux disciplines scientifiques. Donc, elle s'étend à d'autres disciplines. Un système plus exigeant envers les femmes, c'est-à-dire en fait les perspectives d'avenir des chercheuses restent décourageantes. Elles font face à un niveau d'exigence plus important lorsqu'elles soumettent des demandes de financement, par exemple, d'examen par un comité de lecture ou de titularisation. Donc, les bourses accordées aux femmes sont beaucoup plus modestes et 25% des financements de moins. Elles obtiennent 25% de financement de moins pour leurs projets de recherche. Donc, les carrières des femmes piétinent aussi. Et ça concerne aussi les femmes dans la région MENA. Donc, les femmes sont plus nombreuses à quitter le secteur technologique que les hommes. Interrogées sur ces raisons de leur départ, elles invoquent principalement les conditions de travail, la difficulté d'accéder à des postes créatifs et des carrières qui piétinent. Et en plus, il y a moins de visibilité des articles donc pour les femmes auteurs, donc les articles qu'elles publient ont moins de chances de figurer dans des revues prestigieuses et leurs autrices sont moins susceptibles d'être citées en tant que premier ou dernier auteur. Les articles rédigés par des femmes sont moins souvent cités et ces dernières donc passent à l'asper de l'attribution de promotion. Donc cette ségrégation verticale, elle est aussi engendrée donc, par ce phénomène de baisse de visibilité des femmes chercheuses universitaires dans tous les domaines, mais particulièrement dans les domaines STEM. Donc, c'est pour cela que ceci est à l'origine donc, des faibles proportions des femmes dans des postes universitaires les plus élevés hiérarchiquement et en partie dû à la visibilité réduite donc, de ces femmes. Donc, on déduit du fait que ces femmes aient un taux de publication annuel similaire, parfois celui des hommes. Cet écart s'explique donc par la brièveté de leur carrière, comme on a dit tout à l'heure. Donc, elles quittent donc, la filière recherche de façon beaucoup plus rapide. Donc, ces schémas représentent en fait la répartition hiérarchique, donc la proportion des femmes donc, dans la répartition hiérarchique, c'est-à-dire, par exemple, donc, les couleurs jaunes représentent la proportion des femmes directrices de recherche, par exemple, et professeurs titulaires. Donc, la couleur verte d'en bas, elle représente, par exemple, en Égypte, on a uniquement 15,5% de femmes qui occupent des postes de directeurs de recherche ou bien de professeurs titulaires, alors que 51,2% des femmes sont encore des doctorantes ou bien, donc c'est la couleur verte, sont encore des doctorantes ou bien des étudiantes en master de recherche. Donc la tendance se confirme partout et ce n'est pas uniquement une caractéristique des femmes chercheuses ou universitaires dans la région MENA, mais c'est également donc une tendance générale dans le monde. L'Union européenne, c'est pareil, c'est la même, presque les mêmes graphiques, mais avec peut-être plus de femmes qui occupent donc le stade d'après, c'est-à-dire qui sont docteurs ou post-doc, ici par exemple 46%. Donc, la Mauritanie, elle est vraiment, donc c'est vraiment le pays où la représentation au niveau de la hiérarchie des femmes universitaires est la plus faible, donc 2,4% uniquement. Donc, on arrive maintenant, donc ce gender gap, cet écart, cette disparité genre au niveau donc, de la recherche et innovation, elle se traduit dans le secteur industriel selon le modèle, le framework, le conceptual framework qu'on a adopté, c'est-à-dire on va voir que ça a un impact sur la participation des femmes dans la vie active et dans l'entreprise. Et donc, c'est pour cela que plusieurs métiers dans l'industrie 4.0, on a déjà un gender gap. Donc, selon l'indice, le Global Gender Gap Index 2021, donc selon le rapport publié en 2021, on remarque que selon le SAP Index Economic Participation and Opportunity, les pays, donc MENA, sont très mal classés par rapport à d'autres pays, donc les pays développés essentiellement. Donc, on voit ici dans l'encadré le Qatar, la Jordanie, 133, classé 133, le Qatar, le Koweït, le Liban, la Turquie, l'Algérie, la Tunisie 144, l'Égypte 146, etc. Donc, avec un gender gap, un indice de gender gap qui atteint 0,37%, 0,39% pour l'Arabie Saoudite, par exemple, et 0,40 ou 40% pour, 39% pour l'Arabie Saoudite, 40% pour le Maroc. Alors, ceci, bien sûr, se traduit au niveau donc, de la filière donc, travail et job. Donc, ceci traduit par donc un gap, un écart au niveau des revenus gagnés par les hommes et les femmes. Donc, j'ai pris cet exemple donc, selon une publication qui a été faite dans un journal électronique dans les pays du Golfe, Europe 2022. Donc, on montre que, en fait, dans un classement qui a été fait par ce journal sur une centaine d'entreprises bien classées en termes de performance, en termes donc, de rentabilité, il y a uniquement une centaine, donc parmi ces centaines d'entreprises, il y a uniquement 3 femmes chefs d'entreprise qui sont représentées, et ces femmes travaillent, donc sont PDG ou chefs dans des secteurs de banque et de finance. Ce qui confirme ce qu'on a vu tout à l'heure, c'est-à-dire que en fait, les femmes sont encore sous-représentées dans des filières scientifiques et technologiques. Et donc,
if you can wrap up in 2 minutes.
OK, yes, OK. Donc, en fait, la participation des femmes donc, dans les secteurs high-tech comme par exemple le data et l'intelligence artificielle, l'ingénierie, le cloud computing ne dépasse pas le 0,2%, le 0,4%, et même c'est négatif pour le data et l'intelligence artificielle. Donc, les femmes qui occupent des postes par exemple, dans les compagnies technologiques les plus dans l'économie numérique, donc les GAFAM, donc il y a uniquement 23% de femmes qui occupent donc des postes techniques et 33% de femmes qui occupent des postes de direction. Donc, les femmes sont aussi dans la plupart des jobs émergents, des nouveaux métiers. Il y a déjà des inégalités dans le big data, etc., dans l'industrie 4.0. Donc cette tendance, elle est mondiale, mais elle concerne aussi les pays MENA. D'accord. Alors, pour résumer, je vais prendre peut-être une minute de plus. Donc, la politique d'innovation et la politique industrielle qu'on doit mettre en place donc pour peut-être répondre à ces insuffisances en matière de sciences, technologies, innovation. Donc, l'exemple des politiques d'innovation qu'on peut mettre en place, c'est des exemples d'instruments financiers, d'instruments non financiers, basés donc sur, par exemple, des mesures interventionnistes de la part, donc au niveau institutionnel, de la part de l'État, qui permettent de mettre en œuvre des mesures financières directes, par exemple des financements par le secteur public, des subventions qui pouvaient être accordées par l'État à des projets de femmes, par exemple, des mesures financières à effet catalyseur, comme des mesures financières fiscales indirectes, par exemple l'encouragement des femmes, des filles à entreprendre. Donc, il y a une politique dans ce sens-là qui peut peut-être discriminer positivement les femmes en les aidant à lancer leur propre projet, ou donc on parle d'entrepreneuriat féminin. Ça pourrait être aussi des instruments financiers pour aider les femmes dans la formation et la mobilité, des bourses donc postdoc par exemple. Donc il faudrait peut-être encourager plus de filles à faire de la mobilité internationale. Deuxième type d'instruments de politique d'innovation, ce sont les instruments non financiers, comme par exemple les mesures d'intermédiation, qui sont les services ou les conseils accordés de façon générale dans différents secteurs, par exemple la création de buts, d'incubateurs, de réseaux, etc. Donc, ceci aussi peut s'appliquer avec des programmes bien ciblés pour les femmes dans la région MENA. Je finis peut-être par des mesures de localisation, donc l'expérience par exemple en Tunisie et dans d'autres pays de la région MENA en matière de politique d'innovation, qui a concerné à créer des zones géographiques bien localisées comme des technopoles et des parcs scientifiques, et aussi par la suite des incubateurs. Donc on remarque qu'aujourd'hui dans certains pays MENA, il y a une effervescence de l'écosystème entrepreneurial et innovant, et donc la part des femmes peut-être risque d'être aussi souffrir d'une certaine inégalité. Donc là, il faudrait peut-être aussi consacrer des programmes bien définis, des lignes de crédit bien définies pour encourager les femmes à donc aller vers l'entrepreneuriat, surtout dans des secteurs comme le digital. Donc peut-être je vais juste terminer pour dire que j'ai deux recommandations à faire, principales à faire, c'est qu'en fait, ce que j'ai remarqué, que d'abord il y a une insuffisance d'études approfondies sur la situation des femmes en matière de recherche et innovation. Et il y a un manque de transparence et de clarté sur les programmes nationaux qui sont dirigés vers les femmes pour les encourager à améliorer leur positionnement en matière de recherche et innovation dans les pays MENA. Peut-être je vais terminer là, peut-être s'il y aura dans la discussion, donc je pourrai donner plus d'informations sur les recommandations à fournir pour donc réduire l'inégalité des femmes, des genres dans la filière recherche et innovation dans les pays MENA. Voilà, je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alfa, for this very insightful and very detailed with the statistics that you mentioned about reducing the gender gap. It's very delightful to see the triple helix that we totally agree with you that we need the combined efforts between industry, university, and government. And with these new policies that we are seeing that there is a big hope to increase the number of researchers in MENA region to be more than 3,300%. So I would love to ask if anybody has any question to Dr. Alfa. Otherwise, we will start with the panel and we can keep all the questions with the first two panelists from our side. Any questions from our audience? Maybe question from myself. these policies having a good indicators. You have seen different indicators. You shed the light about the global index for the innovation. But do you think, in terms of because we're speaking about these 20 years, do you think it will take a lot of time? I know that you have a nice model, that the helix treble model, but how we can speed up so that we can see better results in a short or long, not long-term objectives?
Bon, excusez-moi, je vais répondre en français. Donc, en fait, merci beaucoup pour votre question. Donc, en fait, oui, donc on peut speeder, donc on peut essayer d'améliorer donc la performance des femmes en matière de recherche et innovation si on pourrait agir sur leur implication, surtout si on pourrait les encourager à aller plus vers des filières scientifiques. Et ça, on l'a remarqué dans tous les pays. Même en Tunisie, on souffre de ça, malgré que c'est un pays où il y a le plus grand nombre de chercheuses par rapport donc, à tous les autres pays MENA. Donc là, c'est un premier point. Comment les encourager? Donc, il faudrait mettre des programmes clairs, des politiques. Donc, il faudrait que l'État intervienne avec des politiques et des programmes bien définis, dans lesquels il y aura des stratégies de court terme et de moyen terme pour encourager les femmes chercheurs à aller donc vers ces filières-là et à publier de la recherche, surtout dans des filières scientifiques. Donc, dans le biomédical, il n'y a pas de souci. Donc, toutes les femmes dans la région MENA publient dans le biomédical, mais le problème se pose dans les autres filières scientifiques, surtout dans le numérique. Il y a vraiment déjà on a une inégalité très marquée, malgré que les métiers sont encore émergents. Donc là, pour peut-être prévenir et faire une prospection et préparer donc les filles dans la région MENA à ces métiers-là, donc il faudrait dès maintenant mettre en place des programmes. Donc c'est le rôle de la gouvernance institutionnelle. Donc il faudrait que les États des pays MENA mettent en place des programmes clairs en faveur donc, de l'encouragement et de l'amélioration donc, de la participation des femmes dans la recherche scientifique et dans l'innovation.
Thank you, Dr. Olfa. With you and with the other women, we are sure that these policies will be implemented and will raise the percentage for the next few years. Going to the next panel, we have pioneers of women who will be shed also the light in a closer view in several countries. So we will start with our pioneer, Dr. Marianne Amir. And she will be shedding the light on the initiatives for women in STEM in Egypt. So who is Dr. Marianne? Dr. Marianne has done several strategic roles, made a big empower for women and non-women inside Egypt and outside Egypt. She was selected as a member of Egyptian parliament by the president of Egypt. She was also assigned by His Excellency, the Prime Minister, as board member of the Financial Regulatory Authority. And she is the chair of the Technology and Innovation Committee, and she also the advisor of the Minister of Communication and Information Technology for several strategic initiatives on the country level. She is, and she always is, the 10 public speakers in Egypt, and the top of the 50 speakers that influence by her audience. And I attended myself her speeches in several countries, and she is really making a big difference by her rich profile and her rich experience. She did also several roles in terms of the country, and she is also associate professor in the University of Nile, and she worked as a global advisory in several boards. She got several awards inside and outside her country, like Women in Cybersecurity, Woman of Decade in Academia, and again, the influential speaker, Egyptian Parliament, and she got the recognition of the Speaker of the House, 100 leaders in technology around the world. Dr. Marianne, our pioneer and our role model, the floor is yours to speak about the initiatives in Egypt.
Well, thank you, Dr. Manar, for this amazing introduction. You made it with your heart rather than with the words. So thank you so much. And let me congratulate the network for such successful events. And I'll be very brief and clear. I'm sorry, I'm not able to open my camera as there is a connection issue. So I prefer to have the voice clear than to have my image. Okay, let's talk about women in STEM, as I was asked, status and initiatives. And for Egypt, it's very special because there is a historical involvement of women in STEM, and that's what we're looking for. Egyptian women's contribution and presence in STEM fields can be traced to the time of pharaohs. So we're talking about thousands of years ago. This is something not new that we are tackling today. In ancient Egypt, the records do not only show that women enrolled in science and education, but they were around like 100 women in STEM domains in different fields. So this raises the bar actually when we're talking about like having the first history in science. It's not just in medicine. There is the Egyptian physician Merit Betah, who lived around 2700 before Christ. So this is like a long time ago. There was like the first in Egypt gynecologist, Metrodora. So the code that I think our ancestors followed, that science and everyday life cannot and should not be separated. That's why we had women from the first day there. The involvement got higher in higher education can be traced back in 1930 when 13 women joined Cairo University for their undergraduate studies, 8 of whom joined the Faculty of Medicine, and women continued to enroll and expand into fields such as engineering and pharmacy. So we had like great examples of women who got into the very, very hard fields, like the first Egyptian pilot to fly, the first female surgeon, Kaukab Hifni, Dr. Helena Sida-Rose, the first female doctor in Egypt in the recent years, of course, that's what I'm mentioning, and Samira Musa, the great scientist of nuclear, who chose this because her mother had cancer and she wanted to do research and treat cancer with the nuclear science. So these women had raised the bar, and we can see an old picture of a factory to make TVs in 1963, and those women were amazing women working there. So what I want to say is that we're looking where we were and we're looking where we want to go, but we need to evaluate the current status now. So some of these quotes were very inspiring. You must think of what you cannot do. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Where we were was great, but we need to move forward. Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. And this is what we tell our women in STEM. You never fail until you stop trying, because those ideas like sometimes break the will of the women to move on. So we need to push them. So to make the long story short, we need to see, are we better than yesterday or are we worse than yesterday? What we can see is that as per Dr. Olfa, there is not a lot of data or research about the status of women and the current efforts that are done, but I tried as much as possible to gather those statistics with some effort, of course. So women make almost 30% of the STEM labor force. 19% of the STEM company board members are women. Like we can say almost the fifth among STEM industry CEOs, 3% are women. But I have a story to share about like the field of ICT, where I belong, information and communication technology. There is like, I can say that the leadership in Microsoft, in Visa, in what else? The big companies in Egypt are women, and the leadership of the entities following the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology are all women. So this is, and I was just giving a talk about women leadership in ICT, and even the men came to me. I was talking about the generic status in the whole world. The men and women came to me and they say, we need to be proud that Egypt is different. We have different leadership in Egypt. It's almost all women. So it's very different, but this is a generic like statistic. In the general statistics worldwide, women won just 19 over 600 Nobel Prizes award in STEM since 1901. So this is very like alarming. There is about the color, of course, but women in STEM grapple lower average starting salaries than men, and this should be tackled worldwide, but in Egypt is the same, of course. Let us go to the current status that the most popular areas of STEM students was in the life sciences. We have women in STEM, but the distribution is different. Life sciences, that biology, zoology, veterinary, biochemistry, biotechnology, botany. And then comes the health sciences, medicine, pharmacology, radiology, neuroscience. And then comes the physics and mathematics, chemistry, engineering, where I belong, general science, and others. So this is like the current status made by statistics by the British Council in Egypt. But we need to say whether the labor force is the same or not. So in the professional women survey, it's inversed. Like more of them reported working in health sciences than in life sciences, with engineering and chemistry not far behind, and general science, education, physics, and mathematics having least representation in our sample. The slogan is, after seeing the status, is to inspire the next generation of female scientists. If I can't work with you, I will work around you. And this is what we mean by mentorship. We're not there for everyone in their workplace, in their college, but we're around to boost and have more. Women graduating with a STEM degree represent 35% of scientific professionals, according to one of the statistics centers we have in Egypt. This was in the year 2017. Unfortunately, there are no more recent surveys. A lot of like numbers out there, but I say that the number of working hours, and this is a very important point, varies considerably from the public to the private sector. The average number of working hours in public was 47 from 5 institutions surveyed, compared to 52 hours per day. And as women, as mothers, as responsibles, we know that every single hour counts for a woman. So that's why like women prefer to go to the public sector, 21%, over the private sector, which is only 11%. 18% of the women surveyed in the labor mentioned that they chose their career and they had sacrificed having a family altogether, find it difficult to find supportive partners, or simply lacking the time also to find a partner. And this is a major issue. If to be successful in those fields has a big sacrifice, like having to sacrifice a family, that's an alarm. Therefore, the interviewed women stated that many other women choose not to continue their career after graduating from college and choosing instead family, because they saw those role models or their models of having either the family or the success in the STEM, and they chose the family. So this is very alarming. 42% had worked in their current field for more than 10 years, but less than 20 years, and 32% have over 20 years of work experience. So we started with 42% in the STEM field, but the number decreased to 32%. The female students, we went back to the students to see what happened, and we saw that 63% had teaching responsibilities with their current studies, and 43% stating that they had spent an average of half time teaching responsibility, contributing to the overall number of women working in STEM. And because graphs talk better than writing, so we can see in the first graph that over 20, those who work, I can have this pointer, over 20 working years. This is the number, 42%. From 10 to 20 working years, it was 32%. These are the female students taking the survey, like the 63% we talked about with teaching responsibility, and 40-something with half their time teaching responsibility. Female representations in STEM fields is obvious here, as we can see. Female professionals education survey, we see that those who finish their master degree is more than 80%, PhD is more than 60%, and just professional who had completing their postdoctoral is much, much less. So we're going less and less and less. According to the UNESCO Institute's in Statistic 2018, there is an estimating of 44% women engaged in scientific research in Egypt. In earlier research, it was 41% in the field of natural sciences, 18 in the field of engineering, and 46 of medicine. So we can see that medicine is the star, 28% in the agricultural. There is in Egypt an entity responsible as the arm of our nation for the scientific research and technology. They say that 54% of researchers in research centers are women. 54 women made up 54% of researchers in research centers. 15 women only received the state awards, and only 13% registered patents. So we have a lot of women in research centers, but 15% had those awards. The numbers may indicate something, but maybe some women did not apply for
Marianne, according to these statistics, what Egypt has done in terms of initiatives, in terms of policies, so that it could change in the next few years? I'm sure that I know the statistics are something very low, a little bit, and we need to increase them, hopefully. So in your so that we can wrap up in your presentation about the initiatives and policies in Egypt.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manar, always helping me to move to the next step. So the next slide was about the answer of your question, as if we're preparing the slides together. So first, I would like to mention this is the slogan of the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, and it has the god of knowledge, the goddess of knowledge in Egypt, Sachet. So they chose to change the slogan and put this inspiring a woman as the slogan. This is like a video about the recommendation, but I will not share it now. I'll move to the efforts, in order not to waste time, but sorry. L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science is one of the initiatives on shedding the light of scientists and women, and it has a yearly competition that I attended, and choosing the best women who had contributions. And this is encouraging women to have more research. It's focused more on research. There is something done by the state that is very important, is the STEM schools, focusing on the importance of schools in Egypt to get because the students are the future of our nation. So the STEM schools have a lot of girls and we are taking a lot of care of these girls and their tracks. This is something that I want to mention. As mentioned earlier, the ASRT, which is the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, they had a lot of initiatives and still have, like they have a committee for women, and the committee was just renewed a week before, and this committee works on empowering women in STEM. It also manages and directs state awards dedicated to women with reward for scientific efforts in the pursuit of scientific progress. The awards include the Nile Awards, the State Merit Awards, State Awards of Excellence, all given for achievement in the fields of science and advanced technological science, as well as the state encouraging awards that encompass basic sciences from agricultural science, medicine science, engineering science, and advanced technological science. So this is like an encouragement for women to go further. There is the Egyptian National Commission for Education, Science, and Culture. They work with UN Women and UNESCO to increase the information and data available on Wikipedia in Arabic of women in STEM fields. And this is something important because the language is sometimes a barrier. Other efforts are international, taking place in Egypt, like the Fulbright, USAID, Erasmus, and different schemes at the British Council, and some private companies such as L'Oréal and Schlumberger. They collaborate also with the Egyptian Ministry of Education, such as the USAID launched the first school in Cairo, neighborhood of Maadi, for STEM education. Another example is Pro Girls, Professional Orientation of Girls Initiative, which works to encourage girls in high schools to explore STEM subjects and aims to cultivate the leadership. It runs in stages and has trained 190 Egyptian students. Of course, this is not the goal, we need more, but it's distributed in the different governorates because Egypt has more than 20 governorates, so we need to expand the opportunities, finding mentors for these women. Vodafone has launched a number of initiatives and programs to support girls 14 to 18 years old and women in ICT in Egypt and around the world. In 2019, Vodafone Egypt collaborated with the Ministry of Communication, Information Technology and Microsoft Egypt, awarding the Participation Girls in Hack for Girls program. A lot of initiatives are taking place. I was proud to contribute in one of the initiatives. This is PepsiCo, launched by PepsiCo Egypt. It's called Amla Shoghl in Arabic, and she works wonders in Egypt. They chose like successful women to be the figures of this campaign, and to help women to explore those fields that are not explored by men. Not necessarily the STEM, but all the fields that are not explored by men.
انتي غيرتي الواقع وفي كل حتة بقيتي عاملة شغل مسمع بيتكلم عن نفسه. غيرتي وطورتي وبقى ليكي بصمة، عاملة شغل مهما كان شغل، واللي كانوا بيقولوا دي مش حتتك ما سبتلهمش مجال للكلام، علشان مفيش مجال دخلتيه إلا وعملتي شغل. الحاجة الجديدة بتاخديها تحدي، بس التحدي بالنسبة لك مش حاجة جديدة، واللي افتكرك مش هتقدري دلوقتي معتمد عليكي. ولسه في شغلانات كتير جديدة محتاجينك فيها، وشركة بيبسيكو مصر
This is what we mean by trying like to inspire women to explore like unusual fields for them. And by learning to create technology, girls learn to speak up. And this is like was the campaign launched by, or the initiative launched by the Ministry of Communication, Information Technology for empowering women economically and socially through the use of ICT. And it's called Qudwa Tech, and it's a training all over Egypt to give the women entrepreneurs who have like handicrafts to do, but training about digital marketing, usually like social media. It's not directly a STEM initiative, but it's empowering women through technology. So if we want STEM to support the entirety of our diverse society, we must first employ a decent representation of that diversity in these fields, because having women in STEM can empower women in other fields as well. It's not only localized to the STEM empowering and being there in this like bubble. No, women successful in this bubble can help all the women in the society to be more empowered. Those are nice quotes that are used to promote most careers in STEM fields. I will not take more time, but I chose the best quote for me, that science is too wonderful to be exclusive and too important to leave anyone out. That's why we are promoting women in STEM, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Marianne. It's really hard to move to the next panel, because you always inspire us with your presentations. You cover it all, starting from the statistics to the initiatives to the inspiring real videos that reflect what's happening in Egypt. Thank you so much, Dr. Marianne. We will take one question from the audience to you. So you are doing great with the entry. There is no progress from there on though. How to make careers for women normal rather than being working peas for others only. So what do you think, Dr. Marianne, from the Egypt experience, to answer this question?
How to make, thank you so much for the kind, encouraging words, Dr. Manar. And the question was how to encourage what?
Yes, how you would encourage women to do their true careers. Actually, this is reflected in the video that you were doing about the importance for the women in the job market. We need them in every field. But Sylvia, she's indicating that we are doing good job in the entry when they get to the field of the STEM. But how we can maintain this momentum till they get to the careers option after graduation?
Yeah, that's a very smart question. Thank you, Sylvia, for this question. And what is really happening now is trying to put some more policies with the help of the National Council of Women. And I am proud to be in the Scientific Research Committee in this National Council of Women. So it's focusing on empowering women and retaining them in the labor force and helping them to continue. We're trying to get the pool of problems that we get from as a feedback from women, and try to convert the problems into policies to help women deal with the policies, whether by talking to the companies, or more than this, by having legislative approach, by changing the laws to make the working environment better than women. And this is very feasible because the National Council of Women works closely with the Parliament to move on things concerning women in general and women in STEM more closely, because this committee has nothing to do except women in science and technology and education. So this is what we're trying to do, to talk on a very specific issue on policies and legislations.
Thank you again, Dr. Marianne, and we will go to another pioneer panelist, Dr. Engineer Safa Nasruddin, Presidential Secretary General, Presidency Office. Najla, if you can put her presentation till the time I introduce and tell our audience who's Dr. Safa. Dr. Safa is a well-recognized Palestinian community and entrepreneur leader, as well as highly energetic engineering educator who is engaged in multiple roles and initiatives through Palestine and regional engineering and technology schemes. With more than 20 years of experience and management, she was tackling several challenges in the leadership, project management, engineering practices. She's very well-known public figure. She's doing a big difference inside and outside. She's a real pioneer, a true role model. She's serving as a vice president for Jerusalem Affairs in Al-Quds, Palestine. And prior to that, she was the minister of the Ministry of Telecommunication and Information. Dr. Safa, the floor is yours. We cannot wait to hear about the ecosystem and the initiatives and policies in Palestine.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Mana. It is my pleasure to participate with you today in this important webinar. The first webinar that we had earlier spoke about the challenges and what our women are facing. Second slide, I will speak about the Palestinian case or experience. Starting by Najla, can you pass to the second slide? Yes, pass please quickly. I will not be speaking about myself here, about my career. This is my career, my education, and the boards I'm a member in. But speaking about a little bit about the Palestinian context, we can see how difficult it's in Palestine because of the political and social environment. And as you know, Palestine has been occupied, and we have only less than 22% of Palestine nowadays in West Bank, and Gaza Strip is only 1% of the area that is supposed to be. And Palestinian working in Palestine typically earn about $1,700, but it can start from about a couple of hundreds of dollars, $400, which is very low income for the Palestinians. Next slide, please. Yes, this is the political map of Palestine and how it became so small. Next, please. Next, the map. As I said, I will not be speaking very much about the political situation. So next slide. And these are the barriers and the situation we are living in. Next. So we say that women are especially living a very difficult situation in Palestine. Although, no, please go to the one before about the percentages. Yes. Despite all this situation, and the population of Palestine, it is about 49% females. And for the education in the scholastic year, the high school and the secondary stage, 73% of the females and 92% of the males go to school. But in the higher education, it's 61% females, which is much more than males. If we go to the workplace, the percentage is much less. We see 65% of male working, while we have only 16% of female participation in the labor force. Next, please. Yes, here are some numbers also regarding the literacy and the labor force, the unemployment, which is high for women, higher than men. And while we see the high school percentage higher for women, and also the unemployment is the situation is reversed. Next, please. Next, this is about the labor force, the percentages, and so on that we see for men and women. And we see more women in the services also. Next, please. As I said, there is the humble participation of women in the decision making also. So we have only 11% in the Palestinian Central Council that is in the decision making, and also 11% women as ambassadors, and but working in the civil sector, there is a percentage, because the higher percentage, 45, because they are secretaries or low-level employees, if we can say. They are not seniors, and they are not in the higher director position. Next, please. Of course, you know that the situation we are living is not only internal, but it's because of the Israeli violations of human rights and so on, and the increased marginalization of women. Next, please. If we want to speak about the legal system in Palestine is helping the gender issue, the gender equality. We have lots of articles in the basic law. We have also the national policy agenda, which puts the issue of gender, and we have the Ministry of Women Affairs. We have also the charters that were signed for human rights and so on, which all help the women in Palestine. Next, please. And as we know, women performance is much higher than our colleagues, men, but women cannot use networking as much as men use it. Unfortunately, they have a higher emotional intelligence and social capital and so on, but they have less opportunities in the private sector. Next, please. So when women face financial challenges, healthcare challenges, career challenges, productivity challenges, and domestic challenges, and I have done a research about women in electronic and electrical and technology engineering, and these are the results. Next, please. You can see here the results about what are the causes for these challenges, either for the causes, the financial causes, or the healthcare causes, or challenges, I mean, or the productivity and so on. And we can see that ladies need very solid policies to help them in order to advance their career. Next, please. If we no need to speak about women performance because we know that. Next, please. So in science and technology and innovation, or STEM, we can call it also, it has a crucial role in meeting the sustainable goals, and gender equality is also one of the major issues that we have to deal with. Reducing inequality by attracting more women into a STEM field or science fields will help, will support the achievement of the SDGs, at least targets 4.3, 5.5, 9.5, 17, and 18. And women play a central and vital role in society. First of all, gender mainstreaming can make STEM policies more effective, and also and appropriate STEM policies can enhance the women's contribution to economic growth. So we have to work on, first of all, we have to work on the social norms and the stereotypes. We have to work on the primary and secondary education. We have to work on the higher education career progression. We have to work on the research context and practice. We have to work on policy making and entrepreneurship and innovation. For example, if we work on gender inequality in career progression for women scientists and engineers, we have to ensure gender equality in access to job opportunities, recruitment, criteria, and process. We have to promote equal work conditions through, and among others, gender balance in remuneration, preventing gender bias in performance evaluation criteria, and we have to provide adequate safety and security of fieldwork, sexual harassment prevention policies and procedures. We have to ensure gender equality in access to opportunities in the workplace, training, conferences, research teams, networks, experts, and publications and patents, and also financial and non-financial incentives, recognitions, rewards, and awards. We have also to promote work-life balance through, among others, infrastructure for childcare, flexible hours, reduction and redistribution of unpaid care, domestic care, family leave for both parents, appropriate re-entry mechanism to small and business workforce, and all after career or break family leave. We have also to work on promoting gender equality in international mobility of both postdocs and researchers and facilities and facilitate women's return to workplace. We have to work also on promoting gender balance in leadership positions, including decision-making and research. So there are lots of recommendations to close this STEM gap. We can give girls and women the skills and confidence in succeeding in math and science at an early stage, improve STEM education and support girls starting in their early education and through K-12, work to attract and recruit and retain women in STEM majors and fields in colleges and universities. We have also to improve job hiring, retention, and promotion pathways and international inclusion culture. There are lots of things I can speak about, but I think I used my 7 minutes, Dr. Mana.
Yes, Dr. Safa, you did very well in managing the time, especially you are in Turkey and you are doing multitasking. You are showing us how women can multitask and do more than one thing at the same time.
Yeah, so last thing, I always say, be who you are, you want to be, regardless of your gender, and collectively we can achieve more. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Safa. I will have a question to you that's, I'm sure that the audience sharing the same question and concern. Since Palestine is a different situation than other countries in the MENA region, do you think that there are clear policies by the decision makers, maybe in different cities in Palestine, that making or advancing the women STEM? Or you think that still you need more time to work on these policies and these initiatives?
Well, I always say that we have policies, we have laws, we have everything. It's implementing on the ground, which is a problem sometimes, because you don't, even if there are policies, you need that the leadership, the people who are in leadership positions, to implement these policies that they write or they adopt. Sometimes we see it on the paper. I can give you the best strategy and policy for women empowerment. If you speak to people, they can give you like poetry about how they help women and so on. But numbers tell that it is not true. Despite that, we have very good, successful women in different fields, in science and technology, in medicine, in the different fields of science and technology. But on the ground, you see that they don't really plan for on. And despite that, for example, we at Al-Quds University, we have our president is always helping ladies to be in a better positions, giving them incentives, especially for research and so on. Also, in the Higher Council of Innovation, we have lots of policies to help and trainings also to help ladies who have the ideas innovative ideas, to transfer them to companies and register their own startups. Also, I am on the board of Education for Employment. Also, we have special programs only for women. And we arrived to a stage, also last one, the Ministry of Education and Education, yes. We have lots of programs to help ladies, only for ladies or women or girls at school, for coding, for artificial intelligence, for whatever. It's the mod, a la mode now. And you can see very good skilled girls, but at the end, when they go to the private sector and the companies, they don't really appreciate all that. And we as women or ladies, we have to do double effort. And this is not only Palestinian, this is worldwide, unfortunately. I was a minister, and I always say this sentence. I had to hit the table, say, people here, I am the minister, I am the one who decides. Around me, they were all men, and they thought that they have to decide, but I said, no, it's me, the minister, I have to decide. And it is really in our MENA culture, I think, that we women have to do double effort always, and in order to, that they recognize that we can do better than them. unfortunately.
Thank you, Dr. Safa. And this make a conclusion from your presentation and answering the question that there are still some challenges, but nevertheless, we are improving and the women are proving themselves in the areas of the STEM. Thank you so much again, Dr. Safa, and we wish you a safe trip in Turkey. From Egypt and Palestine, we will go to a different region in MENA, to the Gulf and UAE. We have two pioneers in our panel. We will start with Najla Al-Kibsi, that she will talk about strategic partnerships across MENA. Najla Al-Kibsi is Strategic Business Development Manager for Oracle Gulf and Egypt, who has worked in the IT industry for 14 years. During the past 10 years in Oracle as a business development manager, she focused on the strategic initiatives, including human capital development projects, tech startup enablement, tech industry growth, on-the-job training programs, including internships and Generation Oracle. Oracle, with no doubts, has done also a difference and they empowered the woman in the STEM fields. The floor is yours, Najla. We cannot wait to hear about the initiatives that you are doing in MENA region.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Manal. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would like to start by, although I'm a little bit out of the industry in terms of you doctors and researchers, but we do work a lot with governments, we work a lot with universities, and I see such impact and seeing more females in the industry, especially in STEM, does not happen without collaboration. So I wanted to share with you a few examples of very strategic partnerships we have done across Middle East and North Africa. These strategic partnerships have a main goal in focusing on STEM, of course, focusing on women, on youth, because they are the drivers of innovation. We build developers. Developers end up working, in the industry. They end up developing new solutions, new innovation that will help us in our lives. So let me give you a few examples, and I hope you see how this is relevant to the topics we are discussing. So one of the very important collaborations that we have done in UAE, where we have upskilled 578 coders in partnership with the Abu Dhabi Department of Education and Knowledge. They have the 42 Abu Dhabi Coding School. It's a new campus initiative in UAE, Ghadan 21. This is a 3-year government accelerator program. They aim to fast-track nationals. So we found this a very important initiative, and again, it's very important to work through collaborations, because through the 42 Abu Dhabi Coding School, we were able to reach the right audience of women nationals who are interested, to work as coders and, to get the coding skills. And as part of this program, we enabled 578, and surprisingly, 32% of them are females. And in UAE, from my experience, this is a very good percentage. We focused on these upskilling webinars on business application, emerging technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, big data, design thinking, women in leadership, and we got, different line of business experts from Oracle to inspire and upskill those students. So this was one example of one of the initiatives we have done. The other example is from Saudi, where we also collaborated with the Saudi Federation of Cybersecurity and Programming. They have also a nationwide developer initiative as part of the launch. The entity executing the program was Tuwaiq Academy. Again, Tuwaiq Academy, their campuses are part of Princess Noura University, and this is how you see the university role is very important to these collaborations. So we worked with them on professionally training 164 developers from their programs, where I'm very proud to say, you know, at Saudi as well, that 50% were females. And they are now OCI Foundation Associate and Digital Assistant Developer officially certified. So this was a professional certification program. The other example back to UAE, where we also collaborated with the higher colleges of technology. These are technology colleges in UAE. They have HCT colleges across the country, and we've run a multi-year program with them where in the last year only, HCT organized the ceremony, was attended by senior leadership and management teams. We were able to upskill 1,098 students, where again in UAE, having 40% females is considered a very good percentage. Oracle delivered 17 emerging technology focused webinars. Part of them was during COVID, so before COVID, we used to do this in the Innovation Center in Oracle offices. So we were also including, you know, demos, and 15 subject matter experts from Oracle were involved in this delivery. So this is also one of the examples of how Oracle is, you know, actively taking a role in developing the developers, developing the communities, and focusing in each and every project. We are focusing on the number of females who are attending. We are keeping, you know, a very active eye on female participation, because we want to make sure that the projects are not focused on one gender only. So also one of the very important initiatives, I would say, that we have run in Africa that supports startups, because having more startups means having more jobs, means those developers we are also training, they're going to be able to find jobs with startups to work at. Eventually, you know, having this startup ecosystem activated in countries is very important for the economy, because you know, it drives innovation, it drives jobs, employability, and you know, supports the country's economy. So Oracle have announced, and actually this is still valid for African-based startups, so startups who are even in North Africa, like Egypt. So Oracle have announced to give 10,000 free cloud credits for the first 100 startups as part of the Oracle for Startup program. So once and they qualify, they will be given 10,000 worth of cloud credits. And this is a very generous offer for startups to have them start utilizing Oracle cloud services. It's very important to mention that Oracle is heavily investing in building local data centers across the globe. And for startups who are looking, Oracle is supporting them heavily because we see how this is affecting and actually is positively driving the success of startups. give you know,
I think we lost Najla for a while, but we were enjoying the amazing job that Oracle is doing. Until she comes back for the question and answer session, I will introduce Dr. Amal Al-Ali. Are you with us, Dr. Amal?
Yes, Manar, hi.
Yes, hi. Najla, are you back? You are muted.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm very sorry. My connection was working all the time. It just
we lost you for a few seconds. That's okay.
Okay, so that was my my presentation. I was in the last slide, so I just wanted to focus.
Thank you, Najla.
Yeah.
This is a very inspiring to see how Oracle see the value of women and advancing them. It means advancing the country and the nation. So we are appreciating all of these efforts. We will see if anybody has any questions before we go to Dr. Amal. If not, I will ask you the following question. How do you see startups and SME companies' growth across MENA empowers women in STEM?
Yes, so we have a great number of startup growth in MENA. And specifically, I'm talking on, you know, and about startups who we are working with on, let's say, daily basis. We are meeting a lot of females, and I would say it's more than 40% in the startup ecosystem who are playing different roles in that, you know, whole, let's say, field. And, you know, some of them would be startups, some of them are developers, some of them are investors, and they would like to invest in startups and, you know, like angel investors or like part of VC. Some of them are part of the accelerators and the incubators program that do have experience and would like to support these startups. So I see females' presence is very solid, very strong, and very diverse, which is also very important, that females can be the startups. They are also technical enough to be developers. They are also some of them would have, you know, the experience to be the advisors, or would like to have to build, you know, through their network, the accelerators that help, you know, startup you know, throughout their growth stages. So it is very promising, and I believe it's also growing. It's not only, you know, at 40% as of today.
This is a great percentage, by the way, and we really thank you that you are witnessing and you are contributing in this momentum of advancing the woman, especially in ICT sector, which is also part of the STEM. So Najla, you're doing a great job, and thank you so much for being with us today. I will move to Dr. Amal Al-Ali. Amal Al-Ali, if Najla, can you put the PowerPoint of Dr. Amal? So Dr. Amal Al-Ali will talk about webinaring in UAE from an academic perspective. So Dr. Amal Al-Ali, she's an academic, strategic advisor and expert on innovation and AI. She's in the digital transformation field. She's youth and women empowerment specialist assistant professor in University of Sharjah, the founder and the CEO of Cardiff Management Consultants and several other corporates. Dr. Amal, you are inspiration in UAE. According to Dr. Ulfa, UAE is scoring high global innovation index. So can you shed the light on UAE from your own experience?
Thank you very much, Dr. Manar, for this introduction. Let me first of all start by congratulating this network for their 20th anniversary. Definitely we will be there with you, inshallah, to share with you this happiness. Womanpreneur in the United Arab Emirates. Also, I'd like to thank the speakers, the panelists before me, Ulfa, Marianne, Safa, and Najla. They all paved the road for this presentation. Like Manar said, Dr. Ulfa has shared very interesting figures and numbers that will save me time when I speak about the overview of entrepreneurship innovation in the United Arab Emirates. So, to start with, entrepreneurship in the United Arab Emirates are open for everybody, and it's becoming really very important part of the UAE economy. In the year 2010, the United Arab Emirates, part of its vision 2021 that we have reviewed last year, they wanted to be one of the, or amongst the most developed countries, leading countries in the world. To support this transition, we had to look at the strengths and weaknesses, to do our SWOT analysis, and to look at where are the areas that needs improvement really. Economy is very important part of every country. That's why we wanted to move from an economy that is traditional, dependent on oil, to an economy that is driven by knowledge. And when we say knowledge, the two important pillars here, innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology, that got really an important part in the UAE economy. Hence, that was the vision, and we needed to progress towards it. Then a national agenda has to be in place, and this national agenda encouraged entrepreneurship, innovation, and also encourage gender equality, as we are going to see in a minute. In the next slide, I'm going to shed the light very quickly on the academic perspective, since it's very important part in preparing the future scientists, IT people, or even entrepreneurs. In the year 2015, a decree was issued by the Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates that every university in the UAE has to teach a course called Innovation and Entrepreneurship, to teach the students the skills required for the job market in the future. Rather, they want to start their own businesses and be in the business side, or they want to be employee, they will have to be equipped with these knowledge and technologies. The Prime Minister Office, Ministry of Education, has collaborated with the Stanford University to make this dream come true, which has happened, and all the universities in the United Arab Emirates teach now that unified course called Innovation and Entrepreneurship. This is from the academic perspective. Of course, we are talking 2015, 2016, that system was in place. So now everybody, all the new generation, all the graduates that were there in 2016, that they are in the job market at the moment, are very well aware. The whole society is well aware of the importance of entrepreneurship and innovation. That's why a survey was conducted among many other surveys that has already been shared by Dr. Ulfa earlier, that shows that UAE really ranking very high in the indicators and in the numbers and the figures that we get every year regarding its position with innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. This study that you see in front of you is by the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. That's the annual report 2018. This is showing that the UAE has ranked #1 globally, not only in the MENA region, in the awareness of people of the importance and the respect of entrepreneurship, which is really very important. Now, to call yourself in the UAE as an entrepreneur is really very stylish, let alone it's very important as well. It gives the image that you are really independent person. Another index in the same book showed the position that the UAE has at the moment in terms of the innovation-driven economies that was in the year 2017. Interesting, very pinkish picture so far. What are the policies, the initiatives that has been in place and how it's been utilized before I move to the challenges? So the business environment in the United Arab Emirates supports gender equality. Like my colleagues, the previous panelist has talked about, that there is still that gender gap between male and female, not only in the MENA region, in the whole of the world. So we wanted to really work very hard in a very short time to bridge that gap. So the business environment in the United Arab Emirates is very committed to driven equality, gender equality, basically, in the business world. We recognize the importance of this aspect, not only in the UAE, not only in the MENA region, but in the rest of the world as well. That's why there has been so many policies that have changed, so many initiatives that support female entrepreneurs, and there has been money funds that has been put in place to support this. Gender equality is also one of the UAE's aim and objective that supports its declaration with the Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2021. What other initiatives that are in place that women can take part in, can utilize, can see opportunities? And of course, all the opportunities that are available for male are also available for female, but there are some specific initiatives to encourage women to get into entrepreneurship, to start their own businesses. One of them is the business setup package exclusively for women, and this is to start their own business, to get a license. And this is in Sharjah Media City. I quote it, I screenshot it from their own webpage, where it says that we give women priorities for these certain packages, among other also initiatives by so many different organizations and authorities. Of course, there is the establishment of gender equality that has been declared in the United Arab Emirates 4 years ago, and this place has been working really, or this establishment has been working really very hard to look into areas of opportunities where we can have development and have gender equality. There is also Sharjah Businesswoman Council, SBWC, Abu Dhabi Businesswoman Council, Dubai Businesswoman Council, the Emirates Businesswoman Council, among other businesswoman councils in the other 7 Emirates. All of them are working really very hard with their training programs, upskilling programs, with their networking capabilities. Sharjah Businesswoman Council, from what I know, and I've been there, they are run annually. The Women Financial Empowerment Summit in collaboration with the United Nations. E-traders, or the license that you can issue them as an e-trader, is also available and support women. There is also home visa that women can get and work from home. There is also new introduction in the rules of visa that help women, widows or divorcees, to support themselves and stay in the country if they are running any kind of businesses. There is also the entrepreneur visa that has been issued a few months ago, or maybe less than 1 month ago. Now, the picture, like Dr. Safa was talking, there are lots of policies, lots of initiatives, and the picture looks really very pinkish. So why we still see this low number and low percentage and low figures of women participation? There has been studies, if you move to the next slide, please, Najla, by the Women Business, or by the Dubai Businesswoman Council. Next. Yes, the challenges, this slide that I was talking about. So the Dubai Businesswoman Council in specific has done a study. This study is called Women Business Owners in the United Arab Emirates. And this study has focused on the challenges that women face when they start their own business in the country. So number one, fear of failure. Is it only for women? No. Anybody who wants to start a new business will have this factor, but it is higher with women. Why? The reason is, and it has been mentioned several times by my colleagues, is that we really, women, we are competing against ourselves sometimes. I've read a very interesting article, and I don't know, Manar, if you've read it as well. It was by Sheikh Abdur Al-Qasimi. She wrote, why we always burden ourselves with the fact that we want to compete with men. We are not like men. We are putting extra burden on ourselves that we want to compete with them. Why? Like Dr. Safa has shown figures that she said our emotional intelligence is higher than men. Our participation, we don't need to prove really ourselves because it's proven. We are multitaskers. They are not. It's just we are burdening ourselves because we are put into the challenge. The same happens with fear of failure. If you fail when you are a woman, it makes really different ringing if you are a man. Traditions, cultural factors, again, no matter what we say about how these societies have developed, and this is not only in the MENA region, I repeat, it's all around the world. They still look at women experts different from the men experts. My colleague Marianne, she mentioned working hours when they did their questionnaire. Many people mentioned the long working hours. It's acceptable for the man to work for long hours, but it's not acceptable for women, not by themselves, not by their families, and not by the society as well. The skills required, the access to resources, and also Dr. Safa mentioned an important point, networking. No matter how many people you are connected to, but sometimes women find it more difficult to network than men. These are some of the issues that I've encountered during my path on entrepreneurship. I see other women also encountering, and also the studies have showed them, and my colleagues have talked about them. Now, I hope through these discussions that we can come up with some recommendations. My colleagues already have mentioned some that I've noted them down. Maybe these recommendations can turn into initiatives or maybe policies that will give quota for women in certain aspects or certain types that will help them overcome these barriers. I see Manar, which means the time is over. The last slide was, yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Amal. Indeed, I cannot agree more. You have mentioned and you are concluding so many things. But I can tell you that in UAE, it means attractive, actually, environment for the woman. And I think they did a great job on appreciating and encouraging her to get all of her potentials. And you are actually one of them. So really, thank you so much, Dr. Amal. Do you have any questions for Dr. Amal before we move to the last panelist?
Yes, please. I'm Olfa Kamoun. I would like to ask a question to Dr. Amal, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Peut-être je vais parler en français, hein, désolée. Tu prends la traduction, peut-être, je ne sais pas. Alors, en fait, merci beaucoup pour votre présentation. C'était très riche et je crois que c'est une présentation qui résume un peu des initiatives de programmes étatiques, donc des politiques publiques qui sont mises en place à l'Émirat Arabes Unis, aux Émirats Arabes Unis pour favoriser l'entrepreneuriat féminin. Donc, est-ce que vous avez jusqu'à maintenant, après la mise en place de ces programmes, fait une évaluation de ces politiques et leur impact sur, par exemple, avec des statistiques, des diagnostics de la situation avant et après la mise en place de ces initiatives. Ça, c'est la première question. Deuxième question, est-ce que vous ne croyez pas que si peut-être on pourra, peut-être ensemble dans ce réseau, proposer aux différents États de la région MENA des programmes d'incitation qui ne se résument pas uniquement à des entreprises qui interviennent pour favoriser que ce soit l'apprentissage digital chez les femmes ou chez les filles, ou bien le stimuler ou faire de la sensibilisation auprès des filles pour les filières scientifiques STEM, mais aller au-delà, c'est-à-dire mettre en place des programmes qui, dans les programmes de recherche et d'innovation, favorisent, donc discriminent positivement les femmes à travers, par exemple, l'incorporation de toute l'approche genre dans tous les programmes de valorisation de la recherche, de diffusion de la recherche, de publication, de financement de la recherche et aussi de tout ce qui est aspect genre dans l'évaluation des projets de recherche, des projets d'innovation qui sont présentés par des femmes. Et ça a été fait dans des pays comme la Suisse, la Grande-Bretagne, la France, et donc pour garantir en fait la parité. Donc, la parité, elle passe maintenant par la loi. Donc, il ne suffit pas de mettre en place des programmes de sensibilisation. Ça, on l'a déjà fait. Donc, tous les pays MENA l'ont fait avec donc, plus ou moins de réussite. Mais aujourd'hui, je crois, il est temps pour éviter que les filles se trouvent sur le bord de la révolution digitale, de mettre en place des programmes effectifs qui sont suivis par les États. Et par la suite, donc, on va demander des comptes aux États. Est-ce que ces programmes ont été réellement mis en place? Est-ce que dans des sélections qui sont faites dans des, par exemple, des évaluations de projets de recherche, surtout dans les filières scientifiques par des femmes, est-ce que les femmes ont été favorisées ou est-ce qu'on a réussi à garantir cette parité ou pas? Je crois que c'est ça la vraie question. Il faut être pragmatique. Donc, il faut passer maintenant, je crois que nous, les femmes dans les pays MENA, on a la possibilité de faire une pression sur les États, parce qu'aujourd'hui, je crois, on est à un stade où on a un niveau d'éducation, un niveau d'expérience aussi, donc comme background d'accumulation d'années donc d'expérience, que ce soit dans des différents domaines de leadership des femmes dans les pays MENA. Et donc, je crois qu'on pourrait être réellement un groupe de pression pour obliger les États à prendre en considération l'approche genre dans tous les programmes de recherche et d'innovation.
Can I answer now?
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Adol. Answer in French.
But yeah, thank you very much for this. These two questions. I see the questions are very related. I will start with the second question because it really attracted my attention. That Dr. Olfa, you are proposing that we can maybe network or create an initiative where we can really make sure that the programs, the policies, the initiatives that have been done for women are really implemented. I think from my experience, that is going to be possible and it's going to be also needed. There are places, like I've mentioned in my presentation, and Manar, you know about them, establishments, especially designed with the vision to support women entrepreneurship. If we can go back to the one of the slides mentioned there. So we are in line with the vision and the main of starting this establishment. And if we do this, we basically making their life easier. We are giving them a privilege of helping them achieve their vision, especially if we are talking about a network that is in the MENA region, not only in one region, by proposing, like you said, e-learning programs, etc. All the places that I have mentioned, like Sharjah Business Women Council that I know and I work closely with, they do encourage e-learning programs, and they also try to attract people from different areas to provide the e-learning programs in innovation, entrepreneurship, technology. etc. So this is something definitely Olfa is doable. Regarding the evaluation of the program, there are always evaluation of the program. There is always, and Manar know about this, a very close connection between the universities and the research units or the research centers in the universities and the industry, that we help them to evaluate and come out with figures. Now, I think even the evaluation, like my colleagues have mentioned, and you also, Safa, etc., have mentioned that there is a low rate of the engagement despite all of the state programs, initiatives, and policies. And I think this is coming also from the women themselves. So if we can address this issue, I think we will do also very well. I am with you, Olfa. If you want to start something like this, I will be happy to support it. Thank you very much. I hope I answered your questions.
I think you did beautifully and amazingly. So Dr. Olfa, she started, and actually she triggered all the panelists to go the same direction with the insights from a closer view from each country. And this is the beauty of today's event, to have the big picture. And I think everybody's contributing to have the details around each city or each country, how it is addressed and how it is advancing. So to this level, we want to go to the last panelist. We have a very interesting panelist who is male, and this is an amazing concluding of our panel discussion, to hear from a male panelist who has high experience in the ecosystem like Tunisia. He is named his Pais Merji, Director General of Innovation and Technology Development in the Ministry of Industry, Energy, in Tunisia, and he's actually very, very active. So he's coming from a rich profile, rich experience, hence he's active in NGOs. He actually the co-founder of Data Science for North Africa and Arabia, and he's also the Tunisian Association of Business Intelligence. He is the vice president of the Forum of Africa Association of Business Intelligence. So he will be mapping perfectly to the discussion that we have been doing all the time, today's event. I need to add, because he really is an inspiring profile that I need to share with everyone. Everybody is responsible for steering the National Research and Innovation Program, a program that intends to develop the innovation potential of Tunisian SMEs in collaboration with public research laboratories. He's also a member of a steering committee in charge of setting up the Ministry Strategy of Industry 4, and he has held several senior positions in the Ministry of Industry, Energy and Mines and the Trade. He was successfully doing many things in advancing his nation and reflecting on his career, and also empowering others in the field of research and innovation. Pais, we want to have a very inspiring ending of our today's event. We are counting on you to amaze all of these women in today's discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Manar, for this introduction. I am not as inspiring as I should be. I think that already the doctors, they presented a very amazing presentation about their countries and about the role of female and the position of women in ICT and innovation in general. So it's the second time I found myself a minority between women, because 2 years ago I organized a seminar which is called AI for Women and by Women, storytelling AI by women. So I feel like someone that need to make the same appeal from Mrs. Najla, to struggle for men to be among women in this seminar. So my presentation will be a little bit in French. So excuse me if I will change and split to French. Mais voilà, ma présentation va être un petit peu, j'espère pas une répétition de ce qui a été raconté. Et je vais présenter un petit peu l'innovation en Tunisie et faire un petit focus sur le rôle des femmes, quoique c'est un peu difficile vu qu'il n'y a pas vraiment une politique nationale dédiée aux femmes dans le domaine de l'innovation. Je vais un petit peu me répéter par rapport à ce qui a été présenté par les autres panélistes. La Tunisie, l'innovation en Tunisie. Si on veut résumer un petit peu le point de la situation pour l'innovation à travers 2 ou 3 exemples ou 2 ou 3 indicateurs, je commencerai par le Bloomberg Innovation Index, qui est un indicateur qui a été inventé en 2012 et qui classait en quelque sorte 80 pays sur 7 critères, le niveau et l'impact de l'innovation dans l'économie de ces pays-là. Il se base sur 7 critères: recherche et développement, valeur ajoutée manufacturière, productivité, densité de la haute technologie, efficacité du secteur tertiaire, concentration des chercheurs, etc., et le nombre de brevets. Et la Tunisie, dans ce classement, elle a progressé et elle a perdu des classes, mais en 2021, elle a été classée le 57e en termes de 57e place au niveau mondial. Elle est considérée comme une place intéressante, quelque part intéressante, notamment pour 2 critères, à savoir la densité des high-tech, des chercheurs au niveau technologique et la densité des chercheurs, la concentration du nombre de chercheurs et de la recherche et développement. Également, le classement au niveau de l'activité de brevets et la productivité du secteur manufacturier. Au niveau de Global Innovation Index, qui classe les pays en 81 indicateurs, c'est-à-dire des indicateurs d'input et d'output, en quelque sorte, c'est 7 indicateurs ou 7 piliers, 5 d'input, ça veut dire la machine de l'innovation en termes d'infrastructure, de marché, de business, de capital humain, d'institutions, et toute cette machine avec laquelle tout le système national d'innovation, qu'est-ce qu'il produit en termes de créativité, de création, et 2 piliers d'innovation, à savoir la connaissance, la production de la connaissance de la technologie et tout ce qui est output créatif. La Tunisie, dans le Global Innovation Index, voilà, il est classé en 2021 71, c'est-à-dire en termes de positionnement par rapport à la région. Il est le 3e par rapport au continent africain, mais également le 7e au niveau des pays à faible et moyen revenus, dans le groupe des pays à faible et à moyen revenu, et 9e à l'échelle des pays de Nord-Afrique et de l'Asie de l'Est. Donc, un positionnement plus ou moins intéressant pour l'innovation tunisienne, notamment si on compare de point de vue plus spécifique. La Tunisie a un point fort au niveau de capital humain et au niveau de la recherche. Par contre, au niveau de la sophistication des affaires et au niveau de critères d'output et la matérialisation des résultats de la recherche et de l'innovation sur le marché, ça reste, comme a été souligné par les panélistes, dans la majorité des pays arabes, c'est une faiblesse généralisée. De point de vue force et faiblesse, tout ce qui est force, c'est l'éducation. On est en Tunisie classé en termes d'indicateurs, en termes de financement de l'innovation, de l'éducation. On est le 8e au niveau mondial. On est le premier à l'échelle mondiale à financer, en termes de financement de de l'éducation ou de la scolarité au niveau secondaire, c'est en termes de PIB par rapport au financement de l'enseignement secondaire, on est les pays qui investissent le plus au monde dans l'éducation secondaire. Et pour tout ce qui est ingénierie et les ressortissants des écoles de sciences et d'ingénierie, on est le deuxième à l'échelle mondiale dans le classement Global Innovation Index. Ce sont, voilà, qui explique que la Tunisie a un fort capital humain, notamment dans le domaine de la technologie. On va le voir tout à l'heure, le reflet ou l'impact de cet investissement-là. Côté faiblesse, il n'y a pas un lien entre l'innovation et le marché de travail et le marché de l'entreprise. Il y a une faible absorption de la connaissance, il y a un capital humain par rapport à un financement dans la formation par rapport au PIB encore très faible et une infrastructure relativement également faible. Donc, il y a, si on résume, il y a une forte machine constituée de capital humain, de travailleurs qualifiés, d'investissements étatiques très prononcés autour de ressources humaines. En contrepartie, il y a une faible infrastructure, une faible absorption de ce capital humain dans le secteur des marchés. Ceci dit, malgré cette faiblesse, la Tunisie reste quand même, réalise encore des performances par rapport à son capital. C'est-à-dire, si on compare par exemple le niveau de revenus par rapport à la performance en matière d'innovation, vous voyez la ligne de tendance qui est sur le graphique, qui indique la performance de l'innovation attendue selon le niveau de revenu. Par rapport au niveau de revenu, la performance de la Tunisie reste quand même supérieure aux attentes pour son niveau de développement. Également, la Tunisie, par rapport à la performance dans le niveau de l'investissement, donc le rendu en termes d'innovation par rapport à ce que l'État tunisien investit est supérieur à ce qui est attendu par rapport à ce graphique-là. Les économies au-dessus de la ligne traduisent efficacement les investissements coûteux dans l'innovation en produits plus nombreux et de meilleure qualité. Donc, il y a quand même un niveau d'investissement dans l'innovation très important et que la Tunisie est performante là-dessus. Au niveau également, le positionnement de la Tunisie par rapport aux pays aux revenus intermédiaires, moyens et intermédiaires, la Tunisie reste au-dessus de la moyenne du groupe et également sur la région Nord et Asie occidentale, notamment dans les piliers, là aussi, c'est le capital humain et la recherche et tout ce qui est connaissances et technologies. Pour le rapport sur la propriété intellectuelle, également, la Tunisie est classée 13e par l'OMPI sur 130 pays dans les indicateurs de la production scientifique. L'ensemble de ce que produit les chercheurs tunisiens dans tout ce qui est production scientifique constitue presque la moitié de ce que produit tout le Maghreb, 45% plus précisément. Et donc, c'est une activité très importante, notamment du système de recherche tunisien, qui connaît une évolution plutôt exponentielle depuis quelques années, où la production vraiment s'améliore de plus en plus. Sauf que dans toute cette performance et toutes ces faiblesses-là, quel rôle aurait la femme dans le système de recherche-innovation? En fait, la femme tunisienne, elle est présente depuis l'indépendance. Elle a été émancipée par des programmes volontaristes de président Bourguiba et a été préservée par la politique nationale tunisienne, même après après Bourguiba, avec Ben Ali et les autres présidents. C'est le résultat de cette émancipation de la femme et la sortie de la femme vers l'éducation, vers le travail, le marché de le travail et vers le politique a conduit qu'on a vraiment des femmes qui sont très actives dans le champ de la politique, des femmes qui sont présentes dans le milieu de la décision. Presque la moitié des femmes, des cadres supérieurs et techniques sont des femmes. Également, les femmes actuellement sont présentes dans le système éducatif à travers les résultats des femmes, des lauréats, des baccalauréats ou des universités. Et ils sont légèrement beaucoup plus que les femmes. 63% par exemple pour le baccalauréat en 2013 sont des femmes et les statistiques restent quand même actuellement vraies, malgré que la femme est la moitié, presque la représentation de la femme dans la population est presque la moitié. Les femmes dans la politique, il a été instauré volontairement et d'une façon active dans la législation, puisque dans la majorité des élections, il y a une discrimination positive pour que les femmes soient représentées, ils prennent et participent dans la décision politique, ce qui favorise en quelque sorte leur participation dans les programmes de recherche et la mise en place d'une approche genre dans les politiques publiques. Les femmes également, dans le domaine de l'administration, selon une étude qui a été faite par l'OCDE récemment, presque dans la fonction publique, les femmes sont majoritaires dans les classes de décision. A1, A2, A3, c'est les postes de décision des directeurs généraux, des postes de responsabilité. Et par rapport à la moyenne, on remarque que dans la fonction publique, les cadres de décision sont au-delà de 40 jusqu'à 56% des postes de décision dans l'administration tunisienne sont occupés par les femmes. Donc, ceci dit, si dans la société, d'une façon globale, la femme joue un rôle prépondérant, ceci se reflète également dans le domaine des technologies. Un chiffre que je vais partager avec vous, c'est que le nombre de femmes chercheuses en Tunisie a atteint 55% des chercheurs tunisiens. Donc, c'est parmi les secteurs les plus attractifs pour les femmes, à l'image de secteurs de la médecine ou secteur de l'éducation. Il y a vraiment quelques secteurs où les femmes sont présentes d'une façon prépondérante. La recherche en est une, et le taux de chercheurs dans l'enseignement supérieur atteint 66%. Donc, selon des études qui ont été faites par l'UNESCO, et ceci constitue un classement très intéressant à l'échelle du Maghreb, la première position, et la majorité des chercheurs femmes sont spécialisés ou diplômés en ingénierie, chose dans les STEM. La Tunisie également est le deuxième pays au monde par le nombre de femmes diplômées dans les filières scientifiques, à l'enseignement supérieur, dans les STEM, dans sciences, technologies, ingénierie et mathématiques, ce qui reflète vraiment une tendance qui est complètement inversée par rapport à ce qui existe à l'échelle mondiale, où les femmes ne sont pas très intéressées par les STEM. Et cela était un classement publié par la Banque mondiale au cours du mois de mai de 2019 sur 114 pays durant la période 2015 à 2017. Selon une étude qui a été faite récemment en 2021 par l'ITSEC, l'Institut tunisien des études quantitatives, il a démontré que le nombre de diplômés dans l'enseignement supérieur et la part de la femme, que les femmes s'orientent vers les domaines d'études suivantes: les affaires commerciales et administratives, les lettres, les sciences sociales, les comportements, le droit et la santé, qui restent les matières les plus attractives pour les femmes, mais également les femmes sont plus diplômées que les hommes en Tunisie. Les femmes, pour des raisons probablement économiques et d'emploi, les femmes restent plus longtemps dans l'enseignement et ils suivent les filières et les métiers scientifiques et techniques, notamment ceux liés à la mathématique et aux technologies et ICT. Pour l'ICT, justement, l'ICT, les femmes représentent 28% des femmes actives, de la population active de la Tunisie, et pourtant 56% des femmes actives sont diplômées et travaillent dans le domaine d'éthique, ce qui reste un secteur, un métier très privilégié par les femmes, ce qui est totalement supérieur, par rapport à la moyenne européenne qui reste 17% seulement à l'ensemble des étudiants en TIC qui sont des femmes, alors que la population active est beaucoup plus nette, plus importante qu'en Tunisie. Une étude qui a été faite par l'ITU en 2011, qui n'est pas très récente, en 2011, ça remonte à 10 ans déjà, International Telecommunication Union a démontré, selon une étude, que les femmes sont beaucoup plus connues, sont très connectées, ils disposent d'outils, d'ordinateurs et ils utilisent des outils informatiques tels que Excel d'une façon plus importante que les hommes. Et également avec la 4e révolution industrielle et avec une nouvelle technologie qui démarre, qui mettent l'accent sur des disciplines telles que le data science, l'intelligence artificielle, l'IoT, etc. On voit qu'à l'échelle mondiale, il y a un déficit énorme par rapport à cette main-d'œuvre qualifiée dans ce domaine-là. Et ceci est d'autant plus vrai pour les femmes. Pour l'intelligence artificielle, par exemple, il y a une faible représentation des femmes qui n'atteint pas les 20% à l'échelle mondiale. Et la Tunisie dispose peut-être quelques atouts pour les femmes qui se spécialisent dans ces domaines-là. En termes d'initiatives d'innovation dans le domaine d'éthique, il y a une initiative qui a été initiée en Tunisie depuis 2017 qui s'appelle le Startup Act et qui est une initiative qui voulait encourager les jeunes, les porteurs d'idées innovantes, notamment dans le domaine numérique, pour entreprendre et pour créer des entreprises innovantes là-dessus, avec un label. Les startups, si on prend le profiling de ces startups, on voit que la majorité sont des jeunes entre 20 et 40 ans et également sont des gens qui se spécialisent dans le domaine d'éthique, dans le software et dans le marketplace, le tech, fintech, etc. Ces gens-là qui bénéficient essentiellement de tickets entre 100 000 et 200 000 dinars, on voit en termes de genre que 4% seulement des startups sont des femmes. Ça reste quand même un taux très faible. Les femmes fondatrices seulement, sont exclusivement, les startups fondées exclusivement par les femmes, ça reste un taux très faible, malheureusement par rapport à ce qu'on a vu tout à l'heure en termes de spécialisation, en termes d'intérêt des femmes pour les domaines d'éthique, sauf que ce taux devient 28% si les startups sont fondées par une équipe mixte, hommes et femmes. Donc, presque 30% des startups tunisiennes qui sont à l'ordre de presque 600 startups maintenant qui sont labellisées, créées suivant le Startup Act. 30% sont fondées par des hommes et des femmes ensemble, mais reste l'entrepreneuriat innovant reste quand même très faible en termes de femmes porteurs de projets. Ceci étant, on voit plusieurs initiatives qui commencent à foisonner et à naître ces derniers temps, et on voit beaucoup de pistes de financement et pas mal de programmes qui mettent l'accent sur l'accompagnement, l'empowering des femmes pour qu'ils initient des startups ou des projets innovants toutes seules. Et ce qui a conduit, j'en ai pris quelques exemples, hein, des femmes qui commencent à percer, à créer des startups ou co-créer des startups très innovantes avec un fort impact. Je citerai par là Amira Yahyaoui, qui était fondatrice d'une association très intéressante dans le domaine politique qui s'appelle Al-Bawsla et qui faisait un petit peu le contrôle, le watchdog du Parlement tunisien, mais qui a migré vers l'entrepreneuriat innovant, et elle a fondé aux États-Unis une start-up dans le fintech qui a levé 40 millions de dollars il y a quelques mois. Également, Zohra Slim, qui a cofondé la start-up la plus, qui a levé des fonds 100 millions de dollars il y a quelques mois, qui s'appelle Instadip avec Karim Beguir, et qui est cofondatrice de la start-up, et parmi les femmes les plus influentes, les plus importantes dans le domaine de l'intelligence artificielle dans l'écosystème africain. Cette start-up est classée à l'échelle mondiale, le top 100 des startups spécialisées en IA. Et je citerai également Ameni Mansouri, fondatrice et CEO de la startup Dabshi, qui est une plateforme pour vendre le second-hand clothes, les vêtements usés, et qui est une startup qui a été choisie par Google l'année dernière pour être accompagnée et incubée afin de la mettre sur un niveau régional beaucoup plus prononcé. Et la liste devient de plus en plus intéressante avec d'autres startups qui sont fondées par des femmes, ce qui augure un horizon très satisfaisant, et on espère de plus en plus que les femmes prennent encore davantage. Et on voit également que les femmes commencent à se constituer en réseau et en cluster pour s'organiser et défendre la cause de la présence de la femme dans le secteur de la technologie. Ceci étant, nous avons en Tunisie un ministère dédié pour les affaires de la femme, et malheureusement, actuellement, les activités du ministère sont orientées beaucoup plus dans les activités sociales et les activités liées à la femme au sens général, mais on commence ces derniers temps à mettre des programmes en commun entre le ministère de l'Industrie et le ministère de la Femme pour s'intéresser davantage sur le volet innovation et mettre des programmes pour encadrer et accompagner les femmes pour qu'elles soient plus entrepreneuses, notamment dans le domaine de la technologie. Voilà ce que je voulais vous parler, et j'espère que je n'étais pas très lent, et merci pour votre attention.
Thank you so much, Qais, for this very, very fruitful conclusion for our panel discussion. I think you are our hope now by this presentation. Tunisia is really doing great. This is confirming what Dr. Alfa has mentioned through the statistics of UNESCO. And it's very nice to see it in more depth through your presentation. And I can see clearly that there is a big hope for our women to excel not only in STEM, but also in the other fields. This is very inspiring to hear from a male director about how the woman is doing in Tunisia. to conclude, if there is anybody having any question, you can open the mic because Qais is our last panelist and we can address 1 or 2 questions. Please, anybody? Let me check the chat box. Let me ask you, Qais, because I heard all your presentation and I was seeing all the nice statistics again in the real environment. Let me ask you, through your experience in the ministry, and I know that you have presented for us that female, they have no issues to take senior positions, and Tunisia is really a good example in this, and you have a high percentage of women in several senior positions and other STEM positions. So how you would reflect this in a ministry, in your ministry? Like I'm interested to know, in ministries, are they dealt the same way like the statistics that you have showed us?
Yeah, especially in our ministry, we are minority, man. We are minority.
Really?
We are more than 60% of general directors of the ministry are women. The minister is women. The cabinet is women.
Oh my God.
So the innovation and technology department, infrastructure is women. So we are minorities. So
and do you think the policies and the initiatives, or is it the ecosystem? Like if you we ask you from your experience, I'm sure you are in the field of the innovation and research, why we in Tunisia, we have higher percentage than other countries in the MENA region? I'm sure you have an answer for this, and maybe you can summarize for a few reasons.
Yeah, I think that the first reason is because the Tunisian women got to the market, to the labor market very soon. Because in 1957, the President Bourguiba asked the women to go to the school and to get educated. So there is a lot of women who are sent to the school and afterwards sent to the labor market. Second, since there is a stress in the labor market and we have an employment problem since the 90s, so the best way for women to continue is to continue studying. So we have now more and more women in the high education levels, in doctors and the post-graduated studies. So that makes that afterwards, when we have calls or positions in private or public sectors, we have the women who are the most skilled and prepared to access to these positions. Third, I think that women are very. There are some statistics that shows that women in companies are less corrupted than men. It's a good news for you. So
very good news.
In terms of corruption, whenever there is a mixture and there are women in administration or in organization, there are more serious and less corruption. And that makes the organization more innovative and more peaceful,
productive,
yeah,
loyal.
Yeah. So these all it's unfortunately there are not a lot of studies, social and psychological or anthropological studies that show this this trend in our Arab or Islamic countries, but it's a real fact that women in Tunisia are getting more and more in politics, We have women in taxis, in airplanes, in factories, in administrations, in parties. We tend to have women in every sector and in every activity in our country. And it's something that was built through history. So it's 60 years of educating women, of preparing and empowering them to access to the market. So I think it's the main reason.
Very good, and you are a good example of empowering women. You don't have any issues to see a lot of women in the working place.
And I am also minority in my family. I have 3 girls. So I always say to my family, democracy, it's not a good solution in my house, because women will always take the rule. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, guys, really so much for this very insightful, fruitful presentation that we concluded our panel today. I don't think that we have any questions in the chat box. I would like to seize the opportunity to thank everyone, panelists, speakers, as well as the president of INWES, Najla, for coordinating all of these efforts. So all the organizers. And I thank the audience for being with us for almost 3 hours, but we have learned a lot. It's very good to connect with so many people from different areas to complete the puzzles and to make sure that we are in the same plate. And I think, yes, today has confirmed that we are hearing each other and to see that there is really a big hope. These all small percentages, I'm sure it will be changed in the couple of next years. And I'm sure that we will have great outcomes coming out since we are working on this. And since every one of us is really faithful, trying their best, connecting and making sure that their efforts are combined with the other parties from all over the world. So we will meet again and we will discuss again what has been done and what has been achieved the next time that we meet together. Thank you so much again, everyone. It has been a pleasure to see everyone.
Excuse me, Mana.
Yes, go ahead, Najla.
Before leaving, I'd like also to thank you, all of you, and mainly you, Dr. Manal, for being with us today and for animating this webinar. At the end, perhaps I would like to ask panelists who didn't send their presentations to do, because we need to have all presentations. Also, so we need to keep in touch, perhaps to constitute the network proposed by Dr. Olfa. So keep in touch and let's continue the discussion. I will need perhaps to have a photo group for all the participants. So at the end, if Johnson, if you have something to say, otherwise we will have our photo.
I just want to say thank you. It was an excellent webinar. Thank you for great moderation by Dr. Amar, Dr. Manar, and the speakers. The presentations were excellent. We hope to continue with our networking with you, and we hope we will meet you for further discussions, and we hope to see more encouraging data from the MENA region. Thank you so much.
So please activate your camera in order to have the photo.
Open the camera. Nice.
Just yes, it's okay.
Bright faces.
So Kauthar, Wafa.
Open the camera.
Sorry, Najla, it doesn't work in my iPhone.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
Okay, I will take the photo, so.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for all of you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you, Najla.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.